Dave here, how are you? Now, I'm not going to be terribly loud. I'm going to be sitting down for most of this show. I'm sore throat and feeling very tired. And taking a salt water gargle and a couple of pills. So hopefully I'll be on the mend soon, but I may not be going to work tomorrow. So if anyone was coming in to see me tomorrow, maybe you better check for the week after. Anyway, sorry about that. I'm only human. What can I do? You know. All right, on the show today, let's see if we can kick it up. Dave here, how are you? Today is the 21st of the 7th. Betadine gargle kills virus. Okay, well, I'll have a look at that. But I tend to stick with old-fashioned, not melodies, remedies. So on the show today, the 21st of July 2019, for us in the advanced civilized part of the world, it is. We're checking the stream is running okay. It looks like it. People are talking to me, so it must be good. All right. Toby, how are you? So what we've got today is, I'll show you mine if you show me yours. I couldn't think of anything better to say. We're talking about clamp racks, and of course, a heap of people have sent in photos of their clamp rack, and that's fantastic. We'll have a look at my clamp rack as well. For those that haven't seen the video that I released a couple of days ago, it's performing well. It's had 4,500 odd views, which is it's great. I'm happy to start getting back into doing videos again. It's one of those things where I'm under the pump with these other videos that I'm doing for a company, and I really do need to focus on getting my own stuff done as well. And please be patient with me. I'll get them out. It's just they're not going to be as often. All right, haircut, indeed, quite fashionable. What do you think? Movie star. So I'll show you that slideshow that I put together. I promised to put a slideshow together, and I've done it. Jack plane tuning continued. Now this is my timber jack plane. Now this was Arthur's, my great-grandfather, who was a carriage builder for the New South Wales Railways. And I did a lot on it last week, but I've also realized with a jack plane, you really do need to round the edges. Hello. Wait for a second, it'll come back. And I also need to move around a little bit to get this light to stay with me. There we go. It turns off after half an hour. But seeing I'm not very active today, this might happen a couple of times. Okay, so as I was saying, the edges of the blade need to be rounded off a little bit. I could even do this with a camber roller, but I haven't got a camber roller. So I'm going to do some touch up on the edges with my oilstone that, I made this thing, the box when I was an apprentice. So this is, well, I was 16 and I'm in my 60s now. So we'll have a look at that. And I've also got Arthur's oilstone here. And this has seen a lot of use because it's worn all the way down to the actual case. And you can see on the case, it's actually dipping in the center. So he would have sharpened a knife with that. Probably not so much his plain blades, but he would have sharpened a knife like a Stanley knife. I don't think these guys had Stanley knives back then. They just had a very, very sharp knife with a kind of an Arabian kind of swirl on the end. That'd be fun. What's the next thing? So we'll do that very soon. Now I've got a local woodwork group is going to visit the shop here soon. Now, if you're interested in doing that and you're in a local area to me, give me a shout, send me an email, and I'll gladly let you come through and have a look at what I do. And if some people say, oh, the shop looks a whole lot bigger on the web than it does in real life. And that's true. Cameras also always make things look bigger. I'm a very slim fellow. That is not my real tummy. What can I say? It's the TV. It makes you look heavier. I'm not reading a lot down the side here, guys. Now, what have we got? So this is a mob from Penrith Woodworking Club. And they've been here before, and they've got new members, which is fantastic. I really enjoy encouraging people to jump in and see what's possible. They walk into stores and they see all this stuff, and they see that particular woodworking group. Now, it's always good to see someone else's workshop and do some comparisons, as to what you might want yourself. And that's what I'm trying to encourage the younger guys. And they also want to have a look at the CNC machine. And I'll probably fire the thing up for them. They can watch it zap around and do some stuff. But mostly it'll be in this area here, the hand tools, and have a look through Arthur's stuff. This is one of the planes as well. This is another jack plane with a broken handle. And I haven't cleaned this one up at all. That's a project I'll do further down the track. You'll notice also that this one has the handle on the top, the same as my trying plane, not like my other jack plane, which the handle is down low. I'll put it up here somewhere so you can see it, because you can get right down behind it and push hard. And I'll do a little bit of a demo using that before I take the blade out and give it another quick tune. What else have we got? How do you lay out your drawers? Interesting question. So what brought me to that was there was some photos on Facebook. One of the guys had been using Kaizen foam, and he'd gone crazy. You know, I thought I was anal about this kind of stuff, but no, there's other people out there. So he's done all these fantastic cutouts in Kaizen foam, and I want to see how you organize your drawers. So we'll do another fancy slideshow. You don't have to put your name on it. I'm not going to tell anyone your name. We'll just throw up how you organize your drawers. And, you know, it can be an absolute mess like one of mine. Mine is just a junk drawer, and other ones are really well organized. Where I am mostly, they're pretty well organized, because if I'm doing something, I want to be able to find that particular tool or marking implement or pen or pencil quickly. I don't want to have to dawdle. I know the other week when I was mentioning my clamp rack, Chris Sullivan said he doesn't have a clock in his workshop. His time is his own there, and he doesn't mind walking around. Well, that's great, Chris. I get that totally, and the other people support you in that. My concern is that if I'm doing a glue up, well, my glue waits for no man. You know, so I have to do things quickly and at certain times. So there you go. And also, you know, I get excited while I'm doing a glue up and clamping up. I don't want to walk away from it because I'm too excited about where I am right over the job. I'm starting to feel a little bit better. A bit of a temperature. Feeling a bit sweaty, but it's okay. Rick steals my containers for small stuff. There you go. Okay, Russ, hey Dave, what is your opinion of the TSO connectors? Their website claims that they will automatically align the tracks when they tighten them down. I have not put a straight edge on them yet, so I can do that soon. But TSO assure me that their revision C, which is the ones that I've got revision A and revision C, they are a company that strive to give you the absolute best. What more can I say? You know, they're dedicated. They have German background, so you know, German engineering, German or Austrian. Sorry, if they're Austrian, but they have that particular desire, just like the guys at Festool, to get it right. That's all there is to it. Okay, what's happening in your shed? We want to see in your workshop, and I thank you to everyone to supporting the channel with Patreon. It's the make or break as to whether I do this every Sunday. And I had a new patron come in this week, and you know, it might have been a couple of bucks. It's, what is it, a cup of coffee? Or some Aspros, or some lemon sip that I need to go and buy to continue. Anyway, okay, I'm doing DIY with plenty of time. Also, I do 4 on 4 off roster. Okay, Chris. Late greetings from Nuji, Victoria for Steve Rogerson. So if you can help me out with Patreon, that's fantastic. Now, enough of all of the chat. Let's get into it. If I can pick myself up. I think I can. All right, now I've got the other camera off to the side here. It's just out of sight. I think I've done that one correctly this time. So I'm going to do a transition to this one, and I think I've set the focus on manual. So it's not going to hunt for focus. If I bring my hand up to there or back to there, you're not going to see any hunting. Quick drink. Sorry, it's coffee, it's not tea. Now, let's have a look. This is just a piece of pine that I've got. And I'm going to take a couple of cuts with the jack plane. And you'll see it's really, 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 really nice. It's just beautiful. Now, that's the kind of thing that I'm getting from an old wooden hand plane. You know, people look at the wooden planes and they say, well, that's not going to be any good. How can it be good? It's not new. Well, the old stuff is fantastic. It works great. So there we go. That's how it works. I'm going to do one more pass, and it's just sitting on the bench. Do you like that? John makes these things up, yellowboxshed.com.au. and sitting on my Stanton bench. The bench is not clamped down at all. It's sitting on my little multi-function table underneath, and all that's holding it in place are the legs. And there's another one of these strips. See that Festool grip tape? That's behind the apron, pushing against the bench. So when I do this kind of thing, as they say, it ain't going anywhere. Now that's not a small shaving. That's pretty cool. Okay, now let's have a look. I'm going to use one of these cam clamps as well. So I'm going to put a cam clamp in there and see if that holds it even more. And when I pull the cam clamp tight, it's actually forcing the piece of wood against this stop down the end here. All right, let's see if it works. Beautiful. Come on, you can do it. All right. Push the cam back in, and there you go, and there you go. That looks pretty fine, my friends. You know, smoother than sanding. That's beautiful. A little bit rough up here. Now the thing with a jack plane is it needs, I'll see if I can come up to this one, it needs this shape. Or it can be flat and curl up a little bit at the sides on the blade. And I'll show you what I mean. Where are we? Forgive my little as we're going along. So again, we hold on to the iron and the wedge. We give it a tap on the end of the sole. There she goes. And we'll take it out of there. Screwdriver. It came up so sharp, I tell you what. The Sorby Pro Edge is just a lovely machine. All right, now I'm going to use this. Now this is my oil stone, and on the bottom you might see it's got tiny panel pins. So how I used to hold it on a timber bench, and I can still do it now, is you drive the panel pin in, then you cut it off with side cutters, and it would leave it slightly exposed, and you push it down like that, and it's not going to slide around. This is an old trick that the tradesmen that I worked under showed me, because that was their job. I was their apprentice, and I had 6 tradesmen that I worked under, you know. Some I got on with, some I didn't. I had a couple. They're probably all dead by now, you know. This is when I was 16 through to 19. But they were good times, lovely people. Do you ever try and catch up with older people from when you were a whippersnapper? It'd be good. It'd be good. It'd be great if they were still alive. You know, but when I was 16, they were, you know, in their 50s and 60s. So they were all very well experienced guys. So, I don't know. Let me have a look here. What's happening? What did you say, Dave? I'm a deal. Okay, read that one. That is so cool. Got the email, Ken. Good. Resend email. So there's a fair bit of chat happening there. Now this one here is my fine side of the stone, and this is the coarse. So it's a two-sided stone, which is very, very popular back then. I've got the gloves on because I'm going to use oil. Now, back in the day, that's all we used. We never used water stones. The only people that used water stones were people in the nursery. So people doing horticulture always had a water stone. Oh, come on, you silly thing. Hopefully this isn't going to be happening all the time. If it is, you know, it's not an ad break. Ah. Pardon me. I'll get there. I promise not to die on the show. All right. Now, there's a few things that we used to use. I would use kerosene to clean the stone. And I've got some paper here. So I'll give it a quick clean with this. Some people even use kerosene to actually be the lubricant. I don't. I find it's a little too thin. It's too thin an oil. So give it a rub. It may be clean already because I've always tried to keep this clean. But you can see a little bit of rubbish coming off. All right. Now, a lot of the time, people use WD-40 or they'll use standard machine oil mixed with kerosene. Now, you can also use 3-in-1 oil. Lubricates, penetrates and cleans, but it's probably a little bit of a waste. So I normally use this after I've used kerosene. Sounds like the same bug, eh, Ken? It's always nice if there's some oil in the can. That'll do. So what I do is I put the blade on the stone and I tip it up until the oil pushes away, and I know that I've got the correct angle. Now I'm going to lift. I'm going to lift this side up a little bit and force the blade down over there. Because I want, it's doing it a little bit, and I'm going to do it on the other side. Actually, if I put the camera around here, you might see it better. Bring the camera up a bit closer, maybe. Yep. How's that? That's going to work all right? So again, bring it up until the oil pushes away. See that? That's where I'm at. Then I tip the blade up to create that camber at the same angle. Whoop, push down a bit harder on there. That's good. Up and then over. I'll do this for a little while. You know what? That's nearly there. Do the other side. Now the reason we're doing this is because these blades, or this plane, is designed to scallop timber out quickly, and we don't want to leave any kind of flat side to the cut. We're only going to put this in very fine, and so these won't actually be touching. So as it's going through, it's going to leave a kind of a dish on the end of the cut that it does. So we're nearly there. Now I'm going to get that I was using earlier, and I'll show you with the square. Now you might be able to see that like so. All right, bring it up. See, it's just rolling off a little bit on both sides. Because we're touching at the top. Don't do that too much because you'll cut your finger. But it's rolled off both sides. Okay? So now, making sure that I don't get oil on the bench, because I don't want to do that. I flip her over and hit this with a bit of kerosene again, because I didn't clean this side. And that kerosene is the same as basically, wetting the oil down to make it thinner, so it works better on the stone. Bit more. Now, it might not be a very exciting show, but it's just one of those things that this is something that everyone can do. I'm very, very conscious about doing things that people haven't really got the same gear. Everyone's at a different point along their timeline as to accruing precious tools to adorn their workshop. Now, your wives will totally understand, and you girls out there as well who, are this way inclined, and your husbands think you're crazy, or your partner, should I say, thinks you're crazy. I understand. Dave understands, even when he's sick. Okay, so I'm going to tip this up and tip it over again, and I'm going to do a figure 8 this time. And on the other side, we should put a bit of oil on there, David. We just went with the kerosene, didn't we? back a little and tip until it rolls. There she goes. That was a good marker for me. Oh, it's slipping a whole lot better now too. Okay, and this side. Okay, and we're going to do a little bit of a rub on the back. So for hand sharpening, this is a very handy way of doing it. I'm going to take this glove off because I strop. Oh, you like it, Mitch? Okay. Okay, so now I hand strop my blades, and it's something, as I said, I was taught how to do this. If you're not comfortable doing this, don't do it. You know, it's how I do it. So if you very slowly rub the blade across there and then backwards like so. I'll move this out of the way because I get a bit of a speed up when I do this. I'll tip it up a touch. Okay, so here we go. So I'm not really holding this hard. I let this wobble around between my thumb and my finger. The fingers at the back are basically just steadying it so it doesn't go too far. But all I'm doing is this. Okay, cross my hand. Now here's something else. Never, ever, 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 never try and shave your arm or your hand with a blade. Don't try and shave with these things. If you want to see if it's sharp, you do it like I did the other day. For a start, I can feel a little lip there. So I'm going to give it a little bit more of a rub here. And take the oil off. Now the reason they don't use oil stones these days very much, you know, a lot of people still do, but a lot of people don't, is because that needs to go on the buff. Because it stains the timber. Okay? Used to do it with teaspoons. I guess it's the same as leather, Dave. Indeed, Brendan. See, I don't even watch. It's because I've done it all my life. My hands have got what's called muscle memory. They know what they're doing. I don't even watch it. Don't try and do this to impress someone. I'm just feeling up the back there. That feels pretty good. Now let's see if it's sharp. Okay, so I'll move this up here. And you saw me using the blade. I haven't switched it over. You know, that's pretty sharp. I didn't push hard. Let's go again. Tearing through the back, up the top here. It does the job, you know. Okay, now I have that round on there. Let's get the blade, so see if you can see it. Can you see that it's rounding off ever so slightly on the edges? Okay, now I'm going to put it back in the plane. Put the lid back on. These are a great project. Make one. Put your water stones in it if you want to. These are great fun. As I said, first one I made, or that was the first project I made as an apprentice. Second one was the toolbox. A bit more coffee. Now, let's have a look at putting it in the plane. All right, as I said the other day, Arthur has this shim that he put in there. Oh, and also that fillet. So this fillet here apparently is a hardwood piece. And I was told the bottom of the mouth of the sole of the plane often used to wear out from the timber that was on there. See, this is a secondary piece of timber. You might see that is another piece. You can probably see it better there. So that's the base plate that's on the timber plane itself. And so on that base plate, they would cut this out, and that's a wedge going skinny out to fat that way. And also it's dovetailed this direction and this direction, so it didn't lift. And there was a little bit of glue in there, so I tapped it out and I put some new glue in, and I gave it a little rub on some sandpaper just to flatten it out and get it perfect. Now he's also got this shim So I'm not about to argue with Arthur because he was a much better carpenter than I'll ever be, or joiner. And we need to put the backing iron back on. And we do this simply by, there's the screw on the backing iron, the clamping screw, and we turn it around with the blade way up past the top of the backing iron. The reason being, we don't want to damage the blade as we rotate it. Then we turn it over and then slowly bring it up until it's pretty level across the end there. Now this is basically the chip breaker. So that's what puts the curl on these bad boys. I'm going to tighten it up with the screwdriver now. I'm holding it in position, so hopefully it doesn't move away. Because sometimes when you tighten these up, you'll find it'll move around a little bit at the back, and we don't want that to happen. That's pretty good. Now, I need to put this in. This is a bevel down plane. So that means that that's going down. So the screw is going to go down into the slot here. See that slot? That's what that's for. That slot is to allow the screw to go down. Put that in there, turn it around that way, because I hope I didn't break it. I'm going to put the blade in, as I said, bevel down, pushing it back in towards the body or the frog. This area here, above the mouth, is called either into the body or the frog or the, whatever you want to call it. The wedge goes in next. Yeah, this is a quiet show today because David's not very well. And then I can go like that, back up and have a look. And I can, whoop, I haven't tapped it in, David. See, not enough strength today. Make sure that that is out of the way. That's all the way down. Put this in and give it a little tap with a hammer. Just on the wedge. Don't hit the iron. Not yet. We haven't set that. You normally bring it about W2, which means, Stephen, so is that 2 millimeters are we talking about? Okay, so I'm going to roll her over, and I can see that the blade is sitting proud on one side, but it's not sitting proud on the other, which means I have to tap the blade here, that direction, and that will turn it for me this way. Now the thing is to get it so that it's not even actually coming through. Then we test. Now this is so much better by natural light, but I don't have any natural light in here, but I have pretty good lighting, so I'm going to give it a little tap, and I'm sighting. You can see me in the small image, wherever it is, here, up the top. You can see me in the small image looking straight down the plane, down the foot, and that is out way too far. But as I'm rolling it, it's not taking it back enough. So now I'm going to hold on to the actual blade, not the wedge. And I'm going to give it a little tap back there, and then tap the wedge again. And that should take it back down a little bit. So don't take my word for it. If you guys have been doing this for a million years, you're probably going to be better at it than I am. It's just, this is how Dave does it. Very carefully looking down. Now that's not bad. Let's see how it goes. Again, I can put mine down on the bench here because I've got the Festool grip strip there on the surface, so it's not actually touching the wood. But it wouldn't worry it really on the wood. It's neither here nor there. All right, let's have a look at this. Let's put this bad boy here, in here. Move the oil out of the way over to there. Let's see if it's going to cut. It might be cutting too much in one pass. Let's bring this. If I've got enough length on the cable, I might be able to bring that to there so you can see it a little bit better. Don't worry about the monitor. There, how's that? All right, so there's the timber. Here's the plane. Pardon me. Okay. Promise not to die. Okay, here we go. That's way too much. But what a great shading. Hey, look at that. It needs to be backed out. It needs to be backed out a little bit. So let's do that. Why not? It's only 1:30. We got plenty of time. So I'll take it out, tap it back. I'm going to pull the blade up just a little. Maybe this is what you were talking about, Stephen. Wedge in. Oh, that's better. That's a whole lot better. I don't think it's even going to touch it this time. No, nothing. So now I can give that blade ever so slight tap. How's that? Nope. Another little tap. Now, sometimes it's better to give it a tap while you're just looking straight down. That might be there. Nope. Maybe. Yes. So that's touching one part only. So I need to look at where that blade is. I can see it coming out this corner here. Let's see how that goes. Oh, that's better. But it's not all the way yet. Let's give her a little bit more down. Only a touch. You know, it'd take a while across a little. How's that? That's looking better. Yes, yes, yes. Might be pushing back up again. Oh, I think I've gone too far. That's going to be frustrating. No, good. Now remember, this is a jack, and that's perfect. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. That's perfect. All right. Sounds better indeed. G'day, Dave. How are you, buddy? All right, so now I can put that down and dye a little bit more here. And that's cutting through it beautifully. As again, I would go to the trying plane after that, which is this one, which is much bigger. See the size of that in comparison to the jack plane, which I showed you last week. Much longer. Let's see how it goes with that. Tipped over even. Why? Well, because I can. Why not? Put the wedge in, the cam. Beautiful. Let's see how this goes. Come on. That's better. Beautiful. Have a look how fine these are. These are wafer thin. Jim Davey would be proud of those. You watching, Jim? Probably not. If you haven't met Jim, he's an interesting character. He knows more than anyone else I know about hand planes, and he has a bit of a dry sense of humor as well. So don't rile him up, because that wouldn't end up very well at all. I'm going to switch cameras back to the main one. And there. Okay. There we go. What next? What next? What next? You know what? I've cut my sheet up. I've cut the run sheet up. Let's have a look. All right, let's have a look at everyone's clamps, and then we'll go over to my clamp rack as well. I'll move this camera out of the way so it's over there ready. As I say, the Stanton bench is a nice unit. I like it a lot. I use it all the time. And I got a couple there if anyone wants to get some. Down in the description box for the links. if you want one. I'll post one out for you. Let's have a look. All right. Where's the chair? Coming back. Okay, Steve, do you find the Stanton bench puts the wood up a little too high for efficient hand planing? Interesting question there, Steve. Now, the thing is, I designed this bench for people who live in home units or, you know, in a standard house, but it is too tall to go onto a standard workbench. It is perfect to go onto a dining room table. That's the market that I've mainly aimed this at. Dining room tables are normally around 770 millimeters tall, and then when you add the height of this, you're coming up very close to being 900 millimeters again. So what you do, the sign isn't here, is it? So perfect height for a bench is your wrist. Now you can see that's pretty close because all of these benches here are the same height as my table saw. Arthur's bench over here is slightly taller. So I think my table saw is about 840 millimeters tall. It's lower than a standard workbench. So there you go. That's the height. Now it's possibly around 2 to 3 inches too tall on this setup. But as I say, on a kitchen table, dining room table, a study desk, this is perfect. It's, as I say, it's designed for someone who doesn't have that space that I've got. You know, I'm very fortunate. It undoes, you unscrew the legs, and you can put one on top of the other, slide it under a bed, and it's out of the way. You know, it's such a handy little bench. If someone doesn't want to spend the money on something like an MFT3 or other, you know, massive benches that are out there, if they haven't got the dollars, as I say, this thing's around just under $500 Australian, which is what, 20 cents US. Anyway, John made you some short legs. That's a smart move. All right, now what are we going to do? We're going to have a look at this clamp rack slideshow. Now I told you, or I asked everybody to send some photos in for me of your clamp rack, whether it's a beautiful one on the wall or whether it's just junk in a drawer or in a cupboard, and I got a massive response. So I built the slideshow, I put some music to it, and here we go. You ready? Here we go now. So there you go, that was a bit of fun. And I don't know what everyone's on about. The sign was always there. I just moved this stuff out of the way, you know. So you'll believe me. Pardon me. All right, so what did you think? Do you like the little things like that? It's fun to do. No one had their name on it, so if you saw yours there, that's great. And I did ask for just one picture And so with that, most of the stuff, it was just the one. People send in a few. Well, I just picked the one mostly. All right. Now, we're going to have a look at my clamp rack, which I, as I say, I did the video on the other week, or last week. And I'll go through why I did it like I did. And there's some factors that other people have got on theirs. And I was aware of those, but there was limiting factors here that I couldn't do some of that stuff. So we need photos. What was I asking for photos of before? I forget. How do you lay out your drawers? So I'm going to do a video just like that, put some music in it, and there we go. Mixture of honey and vinegar, great for sore throats. Thanks, Ron. I think there's a few people ahead of you giving me good advice, but look, I'll take it all on board. As I said, I had a saltwater gargle this morning. I just woke up with this rotten thing. It sneaks up on you, bang. Must be the haircut. I've got a chill because the hair was coming down the back of my neck. And you seen Ron Polk lately? Poor old Ron. He's growing. He's reliving his surfer boy days. I think he's growing it, and well, good on him. Good on him. Vegemite and boiling water. Why not? Okay, I'm going to switch the camera over to there, and we're going to have a look at why I've done things. Come around this side. We've still got sound happening? Yep, looks like it. I'll spin this monitor around so I can see what's going on at the same time, and then I might even be able to adjust. Ron looks like a Dutch boy logo man these days, with a teaspoon of cement. For me to toughen up, eh? Yeah, I'm sooking. I'm being a big sook. All right, I'm coming around the other side of this camera, and I might adjust it up a little bit so we can see what's going on. All right, I'll duck down here so I can talk to you about it. Now, the whole thing with this setup was to bring the top layer of clamps forward so they didn't bounce around on the front of the shelf in the next layer down. I do know that there's a fair few people will actually cut a slot here. Let's take those two out. They'll cut a slot there and have this back on the same line, and the spine of this clamp will come down through here. Now the thing is, plywood is probably going to be okay, but if you start using solid timber like pine and having the timber running this direction, you're going to lose a lot of strength, because I can snap pine just by my hand. And some of these, when it's in that smaller section, it's easy to break those boards. You see these karate guys go, chop, and it's dead easy. It's, you know, it's along the grain, it's a little board like this, and everyone goes, whoa, yeah, oh, fantastic. Rubbish. Anyway, so the plywood is a different story. I'd like to see them do it with plywood. Man, oh man, break their arms and I would have a giggle. Am I bad to say that? Anyway, so that's why I didn't do that. Now also, I've seen people have the second clamp mounted here, you know, with the same kind of thing upside down. But you're relying on this thing here being on the end of a parallel clamp. Now, just about all parallel clamps have that. It stops the end rocking around while you've got a clamp up happening, which allows the head to travel up and down the spine without, you know, catching on things. So I could have done that, but again, the same kind of problem. And a lot of the time, I'll take this off because it's easy to do. Now that I've said that, goodness gracious, got it. I can take that off, you know, when I'm well. And that there is designed, that hole is designed to hold that little block on, but it's also designed to put another clamp from the other end going that way with the head either end to give you full length. And that's a joiner. Now I'm not going to do it, but I'll give you an idea. You know, this is a 1250 clamp. I can get 1250 in between the heads. I can get 1320 because you can get an extra 70 millimeters more than what it's stated at. So nearly 3 inches more than the stated opening space on the clamps, on all parallel clamps. Borer's clamps, I noticed the other day, Borer's clamps have got a couple of things that are a little bit different to these ones. For a start, the top jaw of the clamp head is tilted down. Now that's designed to accommodate any flex in the spine, which is a great idea. But if you're clamping up nice and tight, it's not a great idea. Also, the head here comes down a whole lot further. So I'd be in trouble up here. I'd have to lower this rack down a lot to be able to get in. I may not have been able to. I would have had to pull my clamp rack down and all that kind of stuff. The other thing is, if I was to put this in this way, I'm already on the ground. I would have had to have put another shelf above the heads of the clamp to put this in, and I don't have the space. So again, I considered just about everything that was available and how to do it. And this ended up being, for me, the easiest way. I need to have a look at that. So that's going around that way. That's going that way. That goes on there. And then this goes up there. And I did mark all the spaces in there, so I know where they I know where they all go. So yeah. So they're the reasons behind this particular one. If I was to do it again, I would have extended this shelf out to here to be able to take more of these or more of the Craig clamps, because the Craig clamps are fantastic. You've got the face clamps, you've got corner clamps, you've got all sorts of clamps, and I would have done that. I'm not getting up very much, well am I? Anyway, so over on this side, I would have done that. This area here, I would have brought this forward and taken it along there and make these slots really long. It holds the gear clamps well, but it would have been better. These things are always after you've done something. It might be Mark III. I said with TSO products, they had revision A, revision B, and revision C, and they swear by revision C being perfect for the joiners. But even so, with revision C, I've noticed that they say to put another track for a track saw behind and pull it up tight before you screw them up. So maybe we're reading something different, or maybe I'd read something older than what you guys had read recently. These deep throat clamps, the reason that only goes to there is because it goes to that point. That's where it starts to camber up. So there's only ever going to be support here. Now I know there's a lot of people put clamps on this way on their wall with these as well. My problem with that is that if I come out, say 4 or 6 or even 8, I'm really getting a massive amount of leverage on those things, and I just become a little concerned that it's going to make it sag and then they're all going to slide off and fall on the floor. These ones, there's nothing really stressing it. The other comments I've had from people is that if only I had some wall to put it on. Well, you have a look. Mark Bonger's sent in a photo to me a while back about his clamps, and he's got a space a foot wide, and he's got a heap of clamps in there. It's just how he engineered it. So, it doesn't have to be this big. As I say, I keep on saying, I'm very fortunate to have this much space, but I did also have to muck around. I took the main bucket out of my Festool separator to be able to fit it under there so that I could keep the clamp rack to this side of the timber rack. I guess I could have taken all of that wood up there. Now I've got 12 by 2, or you guys in the States would say 2 by 12s, cypress pine, which is around 5 meters long. And it's huge, and that's for a rainy day. That's a massive big table I'm going to build one day. I've had those for 20 years, so they're totally seasoned, beautiful wood, and they're stacked flat up there. There's no twist. My big table that I take to shows, that is made out of the same stuff. It's beautiful. Anyway, so that's how it works. So, the spring clamps, they're fantastic up there. I didn't have to do this to lock them onto something. Grabbing them is dead easy. Same with the little ones, they just slide straight off. And the rubber mallet. You'd swear black and blue that's a Bessie rubber mallet, but it's not. This was from Big W. So if you're in Australia, you'll know who Big W is. It's a Woolworths store. And I think that was about $5. It's fantastic. I drilled a hole through the end of it, put it on a nail, drove a nail into there, I should say. and that's where it is. So it blends in. The only thing that doesn't really blend in are these things, but if you're in the know, you'll know that Bessie make those. Vestal have them done for them. So that's a little bit of inside goss. All right, they don't make the Craig ones. Craig clamps are fantastic. I use them all the time. You see me using them on the Stanton bench. All right, I think we've had enough talk down there. It's 10:02. I'm going to spin this camera around again. We'll bring it down here. Oh, not good at all. I think it might be an afternoon. Crashed out watching the netball. So has anyone else watched the netball finals? My wife loves the netball, so we watched it last night in the car on the way home. It's one of those things, you know, mobile phones, they're fantastic, aren't they? Amazing. I'll go to the other camera. So there, and you'll see I'm sitting down, and there's Zoe's workshop sign. I'm going to have a quick read. Snapped a piece of 1/8 like butter. Oh yeah, 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to switch this camera to there. Sorry guys, I'm not standing up anymore. Yeah, so I might crash out in front of a TV for the afternoon. Watch the netball finals whenever they come on. Or maybe a movie. I don't know. Maybe this. I don't know. Tour de France. Okay, John. Because John is a fantastic... was a fantastic cyclist and probably still will be. You know, get a new kidney into you, John, and back on the bike. Paul Angus, a great thoughtful clamp storage solution, Dave. So I like to explain. I don't have the time in videos. Oh, the finals are tomorrow. Thanks, Ron. Well, maybe we'll just watch some Avengers or something like that. Or DC Comics. I know they're John's favourite, DC Comics. He absolutely loves DC Comics. Him and Julia. You wait for his response. He's going to hate me. No, he likes Marvel. So, try 432 next. Oh, well, whatever. Yeah, Vicky does coach netball. British Open for you. Well, see, I think it will be, I don't know who won last night, but it's going to be Australia. And the semi-final last night, or the final, I should say. They have this thing called a gold final. I don't understand it. You know, Vicky explains it all to me. Kind of. Half of it goes over my head, and the other half I kind of grab onto little bits. Them fighting words, Dave. You're with John. Derek, you love DC Comics too. Great. Look, there's not really much more for this show today. I think we've covered everything. I was going to do an earmuffs competition, so I need you guys to let me know whether you want the G6 or the standard. Marvel's the best. Okay, so I need to know whether you like the standard earmuffs or whether you like the G6. Personally, in the workshop here, I prefer the standard earmuffs. The G6, if I was doing stuff like George, who invented them, was a wall and floor tiler, and so he invented the G6s, and that stopped him. You trying to get rid of me? That's John. So that stopped him getting crap in his eyes. But I really do prefer the standard ones. So you let me know what you want me to do, and I'll work out. I'll get George to do another giveaway for us next week. So I'll put that in. It's just I didn't have the password today for Rafflecopter, so I wasn't going back up to the house. I was just going to stay here, drown in my sorrows. Standard earmuffs, but G6 they're eyemuffs, not earmuffs, John. G6 are great for yard work. Yep. All right, Dave Tackland, hello from Santa Cruz. Look, we've got a couple of minutes left, guys. Try up some topics if you want to have a chat about some topics so I can answer your questions. I'm not dead yet. And what I was going to say was the reason I went through the clamp rack a little bit more in the live show was because I don't have time in a standard video to go through all the reasons why I do things. You know, I just promote and tell you what I've done and how it works. Too many meds. IMAFs as I won G6 already. So you want the standard, Jim? Of course you do. You want a second go at it. Well, it's not unheard of. People have won 2 things on the show, and why shouldn't they? It's a random choice. You know, everyone's name goes in. I hit the button, does a search, and for the IMAFs, it's international. Anyone can win. And for other things like the Triton Whetstone, grinder, slow speed grinder that I gave away from what was the name of it? White's International. That was Australia only, because they're an Australian company. Russ, what chamfering bit did you use when you made your bench with the path guide? How deep did you set the bit? Okay, Russ, I'm going to tell you, I'm not a fan of Peter Parfitt's chamfering bit. It tears the plywood out big time. It's okay on MDF, but it doesn't turn fast enough. If you need to do it on site and you haven't got any trimmers, well, it will get you out of strife. I set my trimmer, like my little DeWalt trimmer, with a 45-degree chamfer bit with a bearing on it, a following bearing. I'm just reading a little bit down here. Never heard of IMUFs till I saw yours, Dave. Okay. All right, so I'm trying to focus on what I'm doing here. 1.6 millimeters is the depth that I go down, because I found that works really well with Peter's Super Dogs, because they have a little chamfered collar flange that stops it going down any deeper. Now, John Lafferty's Yellow Box Shed tall dogs also have that same depth. They'll sit in there perfectly, but use them with an 8mm nut assembly that he can supply with them as well, and that pulls it down really tight. The advantage of Peters is, as you put them in, you tighten the top up, so there's none of this going underneath the bench. But sometimes they can be tight, and you do need to go under the bench eventually to push the buggers back out. Your sister lives in Canberra, David. Okay, so David, it's Canberra. Steve, next set of photos could be idea of portable movable clamp racks. Yeah, we could do that. There was one portable movable clamp rack in that slideshow. I've got one, and I got to tell you, I'm not a fan. I'm really not. They take a big space up, and I understand that you take the clamp rack to the job and away you go, but I always do my assemblies on that one assembly table, which is where I used to normally shoot the show from and have the festival stuff behind me, which is doing a bit of a change for having half the stuff behind me at the moment, and of course Zoe's sign. That's not a problem, Ross. So the maybe not. I think we'll go with the one, as I said. So send it in to davestantonfans@gmail.com. I want to see pictures of your draw layouts. Now, if you've got things like Kaizen foam, or you've got things that John has cut out of some kind of polypropylene rubber or whatever, I want to see those. I'm a real sucker for neat and tidy. You may not have guessed that, but it's true. I confess. So what I wanted to get one of those King Chrome tool sets, or King Chrome or Stanley. I'm not sure which one it is, but they have all the inserts in them. And I know that Stanley Black & Decker make a green one for Total Tools, and each of the layers has got everything lives in a place. And man, oh man, I'd love one of those things. I haven't asked Jeremy for one, but here's the plug. I'm putting in for one now, Jeremy. If you're watching it and you think, oh, well, maybe we will, maybe we won't, kind of shy on the maybe we will side. I'd love one, and I'd show everyone how nice they are. So there you go. I'm a little bit ballsy like that. Have you noticed Jay Bates is doing his new workshop? I think it's fantastic. I love watching a new workshop evolve. So he's using a lot of the stuff that's come from his old workshop. We've got 1 minute left in the show. From his old workshop, and I think it's fantastic. Hats off to him. He's in the Mississippi area, and he is sweating like you would not believe. It's cooking him. His air conditioner broke down in the new shed. So the poor bugger. I don't know what's happening. He's got his new lights in, he's got some other stuff, and he is going to put new air conditioning. He's going to put a couple of mini split systems in. But I even forget what the hell I was going to talk about. Does that ever happen to you? Paul Angus, have you seen Izzy Swan's current shop, Tools on the Wall? Yeah, I have. I don't watch Izzy much. Do you want to know why? I just find what he does is a little bit dangerous. He's got a lot of people watch, and he very rarely uses any guards on his table saw or anything like that. And he's just a little bit too gung-ho for me. That's not to say he's not a person you should watch, because you get a lot of ideas from him. But I just have this, if someone's just coming in and they're starting off, I try and make sure that what I show them is going to be that they keep all their fingers. And maybe that's crazy of me. Or maybe I should be chasing more subscribers and just do gung-ho, but it's not in me. So sorry about that. You agree, Paul? Okay, look, thank you everyone for watching and putting up with me in my sick bed. My Drawers Have It was great when I had a crew of 20 to 30. Everyone knows where it goes back. Great. John Luke, great show. Remember to let Vicky do all the work this Arvo. That can be taken in a few ways. I will let her know. I will let her know. Let me see what we've got here. Intro and text, and I think this is the one. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Thank you again so much for all of my patrons. If you want to help me out with Patreon, there's a link in the description box down the bottom. Below here, if you're watching on a TV, watch it on a computer for a little bit. If you want to put a comment in after the show in the comments section, it'll be able to do that in about an hour's time. Share the show around, share the love, and I shall see everyone next week. Look after yourselves. Be nice to each other. See you later.